Join us on a journey through Gretsch heritage. With today's guest, Shane Kinney. Episode 3, Empire of Unforeseen Heights.
Greetings to the worldwide Gretsch community. My name is Lucas van Gretsch, and I would like to welcome you to this third installment of Gretsch Heritage. In this live stream, we'll be discussing the world of Gretsch, more specifically, Gretsch history and Gretsch drums. We have got quite a special show in store for you today. First, we'll be talking about a period in Gretsch history from 1916 to 1929, yet another often overlooked, yet very important period in the Gretsch history. And then in our second segment, we will be checking in with Drum Center of Portsmouth owner Shane Kinney. And apparently, Drum Center of Portsmouth is believed to be one of the largest, or if not the largest, drum store on the planet. So that should be very exciting. And then in our third segment, we'll be heading to the Gretsch Drums factory in Ridgeland, South Carolina, to see what kind of drums they are working on these days. Today I'm going to cover the era in Gretsch history from 1916 to 1929. Please be sure to listen carefully, as there will be a quiz question at the end of the show. The first 3 winners who answer correctly in the comments section will receive a special prize. So let's roll back the clock over 100 years to the year 1916. At this time, Rosa, the widow of Gretsch founder Friedrich Gretsch, is beginning to back out of the Gretsch business, and the 1920s and 30s are really going to evolve around this guy right here, Rosa's son, Fred Gretsch Sr., whom we shall refer to as Fred Sr. moving forward. So our storyline now really focuses on Fred Sr., who is the son of the original founder Friedrich Gretsch and Rosa, and his relationship to his wife Charlotte, his brother Walter, and his 3 sons Fred Jr., William, and Richard. Here's a picture of Fred Sr.'s wife Charlotte and 3 sons around 1916. Here you see Charlotte, and from left to right, my grandfather Bill Gretsch, Richard Gretsch, and Fred Gretsch Jr. So we left off in the year 1916 when Gretsch had just completed construction of the 10-story manufacturing facility at 60 Broadway in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. This new facility boasted 20,000 square feet on each floor, and it was just a really large building that would meet Gretsch's industrial needs looking forward into the future. As many of you New Yorkers know, you can still see this building on your right-hand side when crossing the Williamsburg Bridge from Manhattan to Williamsburg, with the large lettering at the top exclaiming, Gretsch Building Number 4. Gretsch stopped manufacturing musical instruments here in the late 1960s, and today the building consists of luxury condominiums. As many of you know, in 1917, war is declared on Germany, and anti-German sentiment was really on the rise in America as German-owned companies tried to hide their German roots. For example, the nearby bank in Brooklyn called the German Savings Bank changed its name to the Lincoln Savings Bank. And it's around this time that we see Fred Sr. vacationing with prominent New York banker Nathan Jonas and his family. It's here that we see Fred Sr.'s involvement in the banking world as he becomes elected to the board of the Lincoln Savings Bank in 1918. But it wasn't all about banking for Fred Sr. He understood the importance of innovation for his musical instruments company, and it is in this same year, 1918, that Fred Sr. introduces the first multi-laminate drum shell. Until this time, drums were manufactured by taking a single piece of wood and steam bending it into a circle. With this new multi-laminate shell construction, drums were lighter in weight and guaranteed to stay around for a longer period of time. This was an innovation that today remains in the industry over 100 years later. And if you go to a NAMM show, you'd be hard-pressed to find a drum that's steam bent. That much is for sure. So advertising in 1920 and 1921 declares Gretsch to be one of the largest manufacturers in the United States, largest manufacturers of string and band instruments. Most of you are familiar with the trade magazine called The Music Trades, which was founded in 1891 and still exists to this day. If you take a look at the Music Trades article from their January 15th edition in 1921, it talks about how prominent German violin manufacturer Albin L. Paulius was now manufacturing 100% of the time solely for the House of Gretsch, which gives you an idea of the sheer volume of products being sold by the Gretsch Company at this time. It's important to note here that just 25 years earlier, in 1895, the owner of Gretsch died tragically, leaving the small company in the hand of his widow, Rosa, and their 15-year-old son. It's amazing to think that within the span of a mere 25 years, that Gretsch could go from being a small company knocked off balance by the death of the owner to one of the biggest players in the musical instruments business. But it wasn't all good times for Gretsch. In fact, in 1924, there was a big split between brothers Fred Gretsch Sr. and Walter Gretsch, seen in the middle. Walter, who has been working at Gretsch up until this time, decides to leave Gretsch with another senior Gretsch employee, William Brenner, and formed a company called Gretsch and Brenner. This is a Gretsch and Brenner catalog from the late 1930s. Gretsch and Brenner would stay in business until the 1950s and would eventually go on to sell drums manufactured by Gretsch that they branded under the name Rocket Drums. So for those of you drum collectors out there who have Rocket drums, we'd love to see some pictures of those. It's here in the mid-1920s that Fred Gretsch Sr. begins grooming his three sons for future leadership in the Gretsch business. Here's a picture of the three Gretsch boys around 1920 with the oldest boy, Fred Gretsch Jr. in the middle. My grandfather, William Gretsch, on the left, and Richard Gretsch on the right. Each of these boys spends a summer traveling alone with his parents in Europe, visiting the Gretsch offices in both Paris and 𝗏 The diary of Richard Gretsch from the summer of 1926 survives to this day, describing his European travels with his parents and navigating through mid-1920s European high society and one very special visit to the infamous Moulin Rouge in the height of its glory. A key visiting stop for these European trips was the town of 𝗏 in Saxony, Germany, just on the German side of the German-Czech border. 𝗏 is best known for its 4 centuries of producing high-quality brass and stringed instruments, and is really the absolute hub of European hand craftsmanship in the musical instruments world. It was here that Gretsch sourced most of its products that it was selling in the US at this time. And here's a picture of one of Gretsch's suppliers from around this time, 𝗟𝗏𝗘𝗧𝗏 Company, that manufactured strings for all types of stringed instruments. It's interesting to note how well dressed these factory workers are. Today there are still over 100 different companies in 𝗏 making musical instruments. Interestingly enough, in the town of Adorf, just a few kilometers west of 𝗏 is the company 𝗟𝗣𝗑, which is today the European distributor for Gretsch drums. If you are interested in high-quality crafted instruments, be sure to visit the remarkable Musical Instruments Museum of 𝗏, a museum founded in 1883 as well, and it explores the development of handcrafted musical instruments from the 17th century to the present day. By the 1920s, Gretsch was beginning to focus on improving their capabilities as a drum manufacturer, an effort which was boosted by the arrival of this young man by the name of Richard Dickson in 1925. Richard was a World War I vet and from England, and had moved to the US in 1925 specifically to work for Gretsch. Gretsch had recruited him from the company Hawks & Sons of London, which specialized in military drums with cast sterling silver shells. Here's an example of the types of drums he was building. These are some drums that Richard made for the Duke of Windsor before he began working for Gretsch. And when he began working for Gretsch there at Gretsch, he was able to help Gretsch establish its own identity and brand with the emergence of broadcaster drums in the late 1930s. Here's a picture of Richard shortly before his retirement with two gentlemen, two incredible Phils. We've got Philly Joe Jones of Miles Davis fame and Phil Grant on the right, who was responsible for artist endorsements and at Gretsch in the 1950s and 1960s. The late 1920s marks the beginning of a heated trademark battle between the Gretsch family and the Zildjian family over the Zildjian name. You see, Gretsch had been importing Zildjian symbols since 1895 and played a huge role in introducing Zildjian symbols to the US market. In 1928, the year before Avedis Zildjian moves his company to the US from Turkey, Fred Gretsch Sr. registers the trademarks 𝗟𝗑𝗘𝗧𝗦 and 𝗘𝗍𝗘𝗧𝗧, giving him complete ownership and control of the Zildjian brand in the US. However, Gretsch only continued to sell 𝗘𝗍𝗘𝗧𝗧 symbols, according to trademark law. Since Gretsch could not demonstrate continuous use of the 𝗟𝗑𝗘𝗧𝗏 brand, Gretsch had to give up the 𝗟𝗍𝗘𝗏 brand name to Avedis Zildjian. So for a long while, you had the Gretsch family marketing 𝗘𝗍𝗘𝗧𝗏s as the true, authentic Zildjian brand, saying things like, in their advertising, like the only genuine Zildjian Constantinople symbols, and why accept imitations when you can have the genuine? And then on the other side, at the same time, you had the Zildjian family marketing 𝗟𝗍𝗘𝗧𝗏s as the true, authentic brand. Beware of imitations, and so forth. In 1955, Avedis Zildjian tries to get ownership of the 𝗘𝗍𝗘𝗧𝗏 brand as well, but lost in court because Gretsch simply had ownership of the trademark. In 1967, when Baldwin acquired Gretsch, they also acquired the 𝗘𝗍𝗘𝗧𝗏 name, and Baldwin then proceeded to give ownership of the 𝗘𝗍𝗘𝗧𝗏 brand back to the Zildjian family. Despite the tension and court battles between the Gretsch and Zildjian families, my uncle Fred Gretsch would eventually befriend Robert Zildjian, pictured here in the upper right-hand corner. Robert Zildjian, of course, the founder of Sabian symbols in 1981. So returning to the 1920s, in 1926, Gretsch begins to sell its first branded guitar. And I know this is a drum show, but not to completely ignore Gretsch guitars would be like waking up in the morning and ignoring your left leg. It's just a big part of the entire Gretsch picture. But to maintain focus, we'll keep things on the drum side. In this same year, Fred Gretsch Jr. graduates from Cornell in 1926. His younger brother, my great-grandfather, William Gretsch, was, shall we say, a bit less focused in his studies. In 1927, William Gretsch gets kicked out of the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan, apparently because he removed a toilet from a dormitory and placed it on top of a roof. And this would be only the first of many pranks that he would play throughout his short life, not the least of which was naming my own mother Gretchen Gretsch when she was born in 1948. Which may have been very funny at the time, but this certainly caused a good deal of grief for my mother as a teenager. Here's a picture of the family just 1 month before my mother was born. You have my Uncle Fred Gretsch in the front, stuffed into the drum with his two older sisters, my Aunt Katie and my Aunt Charlotte. So now let's take a look at the Gretsch catalog from 1927, shall we? This is one of my favorite Gretsch catalogs covers. And my Uncle Fred has the original oil painting of this cover, which you can see here. There's a picture of the painting he's got hanging up in his office in Pooler, Georgia. And he got this painting from Duke Kramer, who worked for Gretsch in various roles from 1935 to 2005. We will certainly be talking about Duke in the coming episodes. And the really interesting stuff about this catalog from 1927 is that you really begin to see in this catalog a real big emphasis on drums and percussions. And this catalog features page after page of various snare drums, bass drums, and the drums are all marketed under the brand Gretsch American. You can see the inscription here. We're still before the widespread use of a traditional trap set, and broadcasters and renowns would first appear in the late 1930s and 40s. So we are still in the very early days of modern drum design. Here's some neat picks that my uncle Fred Gretsch recently acquired for the Gretsch family collection. It features a bass drum with a 3-ply multi-laminate shell and calfskin heads, and listing for $25 at the time. Also, the big value snare with its tuning on the snare side only, which listed in the catalog for $14.15. And throughout the catalog, we see Gretsch, of course, promoting its new multi-laminate shells, which are lightweight and do not warp. So turning back to the family now, in April of 1928, Fred Gretsch Sr. and Fred Gretsch Jr. depart for a 6-week-long business trip to Europe. Charlotte Gretsch, Fred Gretsch Sr.'s wife and Fred Gretsch Jr.'s mother, was supposed to join them, but canceled just before they left, as she was not feeling well. On May 5th, she was admitted to St. Catherine's Hospital in Brooklyn. On May 12th, she died of ovarian cancer. Unfortunately, Fred Gretsch Jr. and Fred Gretsch Sr. could not return in time to say goodbye to her. Charlotte was only 47 years old. Yet another Gretsch family member who leaves us far too soon. After the passing of his mother, my grandfather William, the gentleman kicked out of University of Michigan, and he hitchhikes across the country, perhaps grieving the loss of his mother, and in that same year visits Cuba as well, which is where this picture is taken of him in 1929, and here he's seated on the right. Appears to be drinking a cup of coffee, or a Guinness, can't tell. And with that, we end our story of an empire of unforeseen heights, Gretsch in the Roaring 20s. Thank you for listening in. So now we're going to move on to our next segment, the Round Badge Dealer Visit. And in current times, we see a massive upheaval in our industry. And due to the worldwide pandemic, it's refreshing to learn about a drum dealer that is actually growing its business. Our next guest is a bit of a phenomenon in the musical instruments business. He's the owner of Drum Center of Portsmouth, which is believed to be the largest drum store in the world. He certainly sells a lot of Gretsch drums, so we are delighted to learn more about him and his business. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Shane Kinney.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Shane. You made it. Great to see you.
I'm here. Yeah. I can't say great. I was really I love watching this whole, what you're doing is so wonderful. Thank you for doing it.
Oh, wow.
I just love, I love the historical aspect of our industry, and I love family-run companies, and this is it's awesome. So thank you for doing it, and thank you for having me. It's a real privilege.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome, and that's really nice of you to say those things. That really, of course, it means a lot for me to hear that, and also coming from a dealer that sells so many Gretsch drums, and we'll certainly get to that.
Yeah.
But I'd like to learn a little bit more about you, the person, and if we could. Go back to the very beginning. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Maine. So I'm in New Hampshire now, but I grew up in Maine.
Yeah.
And started playing drums around 12 years old. And when I discovered music, that was the end of it. You know?
Okay.
I had to just play drums. And that's all I wanted to do.
Okay,
and,
so you started at the age of 12. Did you take lessons, or was it just?
Yeah, I took a few lessons, but I'm more of a creative personality, and so a lot of drummers would start playing on practice pads, and as soon as I found music, I just wanted to write songs. So I always just thought musically. I always thought about how I could write music, write songs, and so that's really what I pursued when I was getting going with it. And my stepbrother was taking guitar lessons. My cousin was playing bass, and so we started a band right away and just started writing music. And that was really
cool.
I just took off with it.
So you're like what we would refer to as like a songwriter. based drummer.
Yeah.
Steve Ferroni, he talked about, he's like, chops, rudiments. He's like, I really like music. I'm really into the songs, you know, and you hear certain drummers talk about that as opposed to just sort of rudimentary drummers or technical drummers. So it's interesting to learn about what type of drumming people prefer. And as a 12-year-old, did you start your band as a 12-year-old?
Oh, immediately. We started the band before we even had instruments, you know. But it's to what you're saying is that's one thing I've learned. There's so many different kinds of drummers. There's these, people that they just can play on countertops. They don't really care about the sound of a drum. They just want to practice their chops. Yeah. And then there's jazz, which is an entirely different idiom in itself. And
for sure.
And then there's rock drummers and. Then there's jobbers, people that just want to use it as a trade, and but to me it was more about the sound.
Okay,
neither one is right.
No, of course not. So who were your guys? I mean, when you started your band, were you a cover band? I assume.
No,
originals.
No. I played my first cover gig in my late 30s. I never had any interest in learning other people's songs. I was always just wanted to write. I wanted to write songs or collaborate with people that wrote songs. And so
I'm totally the same. I hate playing covers.
Yeah,
it's just my personal thing.
Yeah, but I wound up doing it in my late 30s, and I enjoyed the heck out of it because I'd gotten past that point in my life where I said, I need to create music.
Right.
It was more about, okay, I just want to play drums and have fun, but I don't want to do the slog of original bands anymore. So.
Right.
Yeah.
It is harder to make money playing original songs, that's for sure.
I never did it for money. And I still don't. I would go play for free. I shouldn't say that out loud, but
be careful, man.
Yeah, that was never the motivation for me. It was all about I just wanted to express myself through music.
Yeah,
and through drums.
So what bands were you listening to? What kind of music were you listening to as a young teenager?
Well, when I started out, I was listening to just rock and metal stuff.
Okay,
and I was listening, because I grew up in the '80s. And so I was drawn to heavy metal at first, and I guess I'll credit Alice Cooper, $1 Billion Babies, with saving me.
Yeah. Because
there was so much musicality to that record.
Yeah.
It really got me interested in dynamics and in orchestration and accompaniment.
And themes.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Okay, so you grew up in the 80s. You're kind of dating yourself. We know you're older than late 30s.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I have a sneaking suspicion we're about the same age. I'm 46. How old are you?
45.
Okay, yeah. So same type of Gen Xer. Huh?
Same wheelhouse. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the heritage of Drum Center of Portsmouth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fascinating story, and I'd like to sort of flush out some of the interesting dynamics to this story. How did it start out, or what were you doing? Maybe start with your beginning of your career.
Yeah.
In your young 20s and how it evolved.
So I started when I was playing in I was living in Portland, Maine. I was living there and playing in a couple of bands, working in music stores, and I really just over time. I was in the studios a lot. We were recording. I was doing demos all the time, and we started to. I started to get a reputation for I could tune drums.
Okay.
And that was really where it was. It was like, wow, this guy really knows how to make drums sound great. And before I knew it, everybody was sort of hiring me to come in and tune their drums for their recordings. So I was able to actually do a good amount of session work for, singer-songwriter, rock stuff. And that was a lot of fun. But I was always in the studio tuning drums. And so I got quite the reputation as this guy knows drum sounds. And I've been working in music stores and thinking to myself, well, boy, people seem to be putting a lot of faith in me, and I must be doing something right. And that led me to opening up my own store. So, which I did, 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago.
Okay, 12 years ago. So 2008.
9, yeah, so 11 years.
Not a great time to start a business. How was
worst
that?
Time.
Probably the worst time, yeah.
Absolutely. well, let's couple that with the fact that I had no money either.
Okay.
I used to say I did it on a shoestring budget, but it wasn't even a new shoestring. It was a used one. I mean, things were really tight.
Okay. So I think there was a picture going around of your computer. I don't know if that was yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's day one.
This is your office.
That's the office.
Day one, and this is 2009?
Yep, that's May of 2009. And if you see that end table was my stool.
Okay.
And then there was a BlackBerry. Do you remember those?
I remember those.
On the floor, that was serving as my modem.
Okay.
Because when I moved into the plaza that we were in, they didn't even have a cable internet connection there.
Oh, wow.
And so I was ready to open it for,
I
was ready to open for business. And they're like, it'll take us a month to get over there. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
So I had to get a BlackBerry and have that modem. Yeah.
And you had a Dell computer? Because those
My sister gave me that computer. It was an old computer.
Nice.
Things were tough.
Okay. And so you had no money.
No, yeah. Right.
Okay. So let's talk about how that progressed. So 2009 you start, did you have inventory when you opened your shop, or were you just an online shop?
Yeah, no, I did inventory because, right from the get-go, it was important to me to put an emphasis on, equal parts brick and mortar and equal parts internet.
Yeah.
And so looking back, those are two separate companies, two separate missions, two separate concepts, but only one person. So, kind of crazy to think. But yeah, I wanted to create an in-store experience. And so I did get some inventory and not much. I think I had 6 drum sets and, a good handful of cymbals and maybe a dozen snare drums, something like that. It was 800 square feet. The store, the original shop was just tiny.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Did you sleep in the shop?
I think a couple of nights I did, yeah.
Right. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
And so how did it start? I mean, was it 2009? I'm thinking the environment, the economic environment is really bad. Not a lot of people going out and starting businesses. You took the jump. It sounds like you were pretty highly leveraged at this point as far as borrowing money from your parents or whoever, right?
Well, I actually didn't borrow any money. I had it saved and I had some credit card availability, but it was really just about just-in-time inventory, doing a lot of that. And just I threw every penny back into the business. And I didn't get paid for, 3-4 years.
Okay.
And so I just kept rolling it, kept going.
Did you have a family at this time?
No, I was single. And so, I was able to live like a Spartan for a while.
Right.
But I think by the 4th month, I had to sell everything I owned. Private, like all my personal assets. And I remember my family came in to visit me that 4th month in, and they brought me out to buy clothes because my clothes were just ratty and falling off of me.
Oh, wow.
So, it was, but, I've always been an entrepreneurial spirit. So I never felt like I was suffering or, oh, boy, this really stinks. I mean, I felt enthused, energized, ready to go. I loved it.
What kind of business possibilities were you seeing at this time? If we say 2009, 2010, what were you seeing happening in the market at that time those kind of things that would get an entrepreneur excited to think, wow, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. What were some of those driving forces for you?
Well, listening to positive materials, I was always, reading business books and things like that. And they would always say, just as many millionaires are created during recessions as they are in good times. So, you can't really, just because there might be an economic downturn, that doesn't mean you can't take your turn at bat. And I didn't have any other options. So, that was really, I had no choice. I had to make this work.
Right. You had to make it work. And so when did you get your first employer? Your
employee?
Employee. Yeah. Sorry.
I had, it was about 6 months in, I got my first part-time guy. And he was working a few days a week. And then it was just under a year where I got my first full-timer, Richard, who was with me for about 8 years before he retired. He was with me for 8 years before he retired.
Okay.
This is my cat, Giselle. I'm at home. We were going to do this from the store, but I said, no, we can't do this from the store because I'm going to get distracted. People are going to come up. I'll just do this from the house. And now here we have.
And now
we have hairless cats. So we love cats. Yeah.
What's the cat's name?
This is Giselle.
Giselle.
She's a Sphinx cat. Yeah.
A Sphinx.
Yeah. She wants to be famous.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So in the past 10 years or so, you read a lot in the press and hear people talking about how difficult it is for music stores and how they're closing left and right and shrinking and disappearing, yet your store has managed to do the opposite and has continuously grown through the decade. In a recent video, you state that you believe to be the largest drum store in the world. And can you talk about maybe what have you done differently from other stores that has led to this tremendous growth?
Well, I can't speak for them, the other stores. We just kept doing what we do, which is innovate and just try to create a great experience for the customer. That's really the goal. Like, how can we make it so a customer says, wow, I want to spend my money with these guys. And so every day starts out like that. And sometimes we find ways to create, new experiences for customers, and sometimes we don't. But usually it's been through our video marketing, social media. I focus on the high end right from the get-go. So when I started, I wasn't really selling lower end stuff. I was dealing with exclusively expensive boutique level instruments, and I was attracting the the 1%ers at the time that wanted to buy higher end stuff, where a lot of other stores weren't focusing on that. And so as time progressed, I got more involved in the low end. So now we do everything. We do every price range there is. Okay.
So you simply went for the higher profit margins and the higher end equipment.
I mean, I would say the margins are right around the same, maybe even a little smaller on the high end, but you get customers. And with customers, it's hard to create loyalty in retail now. It used to be, you had your pharmacist that you would go to, or your hardware store that you would go to, and now people they go to a myriad of resources, and we look at ourselves as pharmacists. If you have an ailment, you come in and we make a prescription for it. That's how we look at it.
That's an interesting parallel. And I enjoyed your recent video. We talk about different price levels of videos, and I enjoyed your recent video where you talk about the best drum sets under $2,000, featuring the Gretsch Renown kit.
Yeah.
And is the Gretsch Renown the best-selling line of Gretsch at your store?
No. In terms of kits, it's Catalina Club.
Okay.
But I mean, I think right behind it is Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah, Renown's up there, but that's a very crowded price point. So there's a lot of kits in that price point. But it does well for us.
It's very nice. And have you thought about doing a video called "The Best Drum Sets Over $4,000"?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great idea. Thank you. We could do that. It's probably that'll be on the docket.
Couple of Gretsch kits in there.
Yeah.
Some others.
Well, we did do a big Gretsch shootout where we ordered, was it 12 different, it was like 30 kits or something, like where we compared Broadcaster, Brooklyn, and USA Custom. They were all the same color, all the same sizes, and we did 3 or 4 different configurations. This was a mammoth project, and it's still people call all the time. And based on that video. So you'll probably do something over 4,000 at some point.
It's amazing. That video you're talking about there is really, known, has a reputation of being one of the best all-time comparison videos. And your videos are really, really good, really sort of informative and engaging. And can you talk a little bit about what kind of staff requirements there are for having that kind of video output that you have on the YouTube and on social media. How many people does that take?
Well, it's two, but it's really 1.5 because we have Adam does our video, and he handles video and Facebook. But Tony does the audio side of things, but he's also the general manager of the store. So he's pulled in a few different directions, and he's able to make it work because he's excellent at multitasking. So those are the two guys that really focus on, and Tony makes it sound great. Adam makes it look great. And then I'm the one who messes it up by being in the frame.
What a team, huh?
Yeah, right.
Sort of a sub-theme that I have to this show. This is the theme of today's show is Gretsch in the 20s. And sort of my underlying theme is, really fast growth, because in the 1920s, like I said, Gretsch grew from being 12 employees in 1895 and the owner died. And then to 1916 or 1920, where it's one of the largest manufacturers and distributors of musical instruments in the US. And you just think about this sort of rapid growth, and it's really a parallel to your business.
Yeah.
And
it's insane.
For Gretsch, it was the Gretsch story. The real estate played an important role in this sort of acceleration of growth. And I was wondering, has real estate played a role for your business? Yeah.
I mean, I've yet to really see the benefits of, the equity side of things because, we've only been in this location for 3 years. But I knew that I was, spending all this money on rent every month.
Right.
And I said, this is just so wasteful. And I was always running out of space. Yeah, that's one of the plague of a drum store owner is that you can never have enough square footage because bass drum boxes are enormous, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we wound up looking for a building, and we bought the building that we're in now. And I said, I'll never fill this thing. It's 20,000 square feet. It's 2 barns that are fused together. And now we're bursting at the seams. So it's all over again. But we have, a 3-acre lot on the back, so I can expand if I want, build another warehouse. But right now we're fine. But I'd say it's played a huge role in the fact that it's created this destination location. We were getting a lot of people from all over the world to come see us before we were in this store. And I knew we were doing something special then. I didn't know what it was, but I remember having somebody fly up from Argentina just to buy a snare drum. I remember a young girl came over from Thailand just to buy a snare drum. And this is when we were in our 1,100 square foot location, our second location. So I knew that something was happening, and I really wanted to make it even better. And I saw this building. I've been looking at it for years. And I remember I walked in, I had to go in and look at it 3 times and say, wow, can I make a drum store out of this? Because it had been an antique store for a while and a furniture store before that. And my banker, he said, you should do this. And so I said, okay, let's go. I'll listen to you. And we bought it, and it's been great. It's people. I just love the looks on people's faces when they walk in. People, their jaw hits the floor. And then I always say, well, have you been upstairs yet? And they're like, wait, there's an upstairs?
Oh, cool.
And when I walk into the drum set room, my breath just, I can't believe it. When I look at the drum set room, man, this is the ultimate store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. We're showing some pictures here as we go
that's
along.
The Gretsch booth. Yeah.
And
we do the timeline. We have the timelines up to the left and the right there. Right. Yeah. Here we go.
Right. Yeah. These are really nice, and they're on display, and they kind of go through the different eras of Gretsch and sort of explain the depth of the Gretsch, the brand to the customers. How important do you think it is to? There's the drawing of how the timeline should be. Cool.
My penmanship is just exemplary.
How important would you say, when you take a brand like Gretsch, how important is the fact that there is such a deep long history and heritage. How does that help you sell more drums?
I think it means more than any, like it I noticed that tide starting to turn around 2011 or 2012, where it was just, I think, or right when the economy was doing what it was 10 years ago. All of a sudden, this interest in American brands just happened again. And especially leading up to that, there was a lot of these, what I'll call APC drum companies, where it was these custom builders making drums that would sound good and be priced well, but they really had no equity. You know, they didn't really have any resale value, and there was no romance involved. There was no history. And, you know, Gretsch is one of those iconic American brands that all of a sudden people kind of wanted to be part of something. And we started seeing that, and it became much easier to sell a brand like Gretsch because, I mean, there's just so much legacy and history there.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's great to see that you made those timelines, because it shows as a dealer that you sort of understand that there is a history there that needs to or should be addressed when looking at instruments. Just learning about instruments from back then and better understanding the instruments of today, because the Brooklyn series was developed by Richard Dickson and people I was talking about earlier in the 1930s, and it all comes from that place, that special place. So,
but that's a great topic about the Brooklyn, because that for me is when I really became excited about Gretsch. But before I mention that, I want to, just also say, to answer the initial question, is how could you be a jazz drummer and not want a Gretsch drum set? There's other drum sets out there that are great, but to me, the jazz drum set was invented by Gretsch. Yeah, and they still sound that way when you hear
the toms.
Yeah, I mean, I remember listening to Rich versus Roach, which is 1959. I'm just thinking, well, I think I like Max Roach's drum sound more because it was just more articulate. And it was great for jazz. And that's the same sound of the drums that you buy today. Yeah. So to me, it was just like that. It's a no-brainer. But I got really excited about Gretsch when the Brooklyn was launched in 2013. Is that right?
Yeah, 2014. Yeah. Which
is funny because the then product manager of Gretsch was Joe Mazza, who was like, I have to show you these Brooklyn drums. Well, Joe actually works at Drum Center Portsmouth now, which is, it's funny, but he was the project manager then, and he's like, well, here are the Brooklyn drums. And I was so excited about those because I saw this real interest in bringing the Gretsch sound at a price point that was lower and more attainable to more people. So when a company shows me that kind of interest and engagement, then I will meet that with equal interest. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about geography. Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
It's population-wise, I Googled it, and it's about 20,000 people. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So it's hardly a New York or an LA with thousands of professional drummers buying gear all the time.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the geographical location of your store and how it's helped you or hindered you, or is it even relevant in this day and age?
It certainly hasn't hindered me. I mean, because the biggest advantage we have in New Hampshire is that we have no sales tax. So we're an hour from Boston, and there's no sales tax. So it's that right there is one of the biggest draws for a lot of people. But the other thing too is that Portsmouth is constantly rated as the most romantic city in America. So it's not difficult for somebody to say, "Oh, hey, honey, let's go to Portsmouth for the weekend, and we can, have a nice romantic getaway. And oh, by the way, when we're there, we'll stop at the drum center." And
right.
Yeah. So but somebody told me very early on. They said, you don't have to sell anybody on Portsmouth. It's just Portsmouth just sells itself. It's a beautiful city. It's very charming, and yeah. So that's really helped us, and we can ship on the East Coast, from here to Ohio or anything, it's 1 to 2 day zone. So and we do very fast shipping as well. So I think it has huge advantages.
Yeah. Okay. And so what's the sales tax in say Boston or New York?
I don't know, probably 6%, 5 or 6%. I'm guessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good advantage for you, right?
So I mean, if you come to the store and we have 60 USA Gretsch kits in stock, so we actually have it in stock, and then there's no sales tax. It's hard for somebody to say, well, I don't think I want to go visit there.
Okay. So looking at your store, and you're clearly a very visionary entrepreneur. You see something and you go for it. What kind of targets are you setting for yourself? How do you see your store evolving in the 2020s?
Well, I had a much more clear vision of that before COVID.
Yeah.
And so right now it is just about continuing to do what we do and let it evolve naturally. But where it's going to go next, I mean, basically my main target is, how do I create an environment that is wonderful for the consumer, wonderful for the employee? I want to make it a great place to work, and I want to be a great employer, and I also want to have customers have a great experience. So we're just going to continue doing what we do. We'll let the growth happen naturally. I'm not going to force anything.
Okay. And how many employees do you have now?
12.
12 in all?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And
how many Gretsch kits would you have at your store?
I think we have about 70 kits.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, they're not all on the floor. Some are in blocks, but in boxes.
Yeah, 70.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
That's amazing. And would you say Gretsch is, would you say it's equal to other main manufacturers as far as the balance, or are you guys really focusing hard on Gretsch at the time?
We focus hard on all of the lines. If we go in on a line, we go in. Yeah. But we are putting a real special interest in Gretsch because, I mean, I just love the brand. Yeah. I love family-run businesses. I'm a family-run business, so.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Now, you say you're a family-run business. Do you have a family?
Well, I have my beautiful wife Lauren, and I have our hairless cats and my pug dog.
Right. So is Lauren involved in the business?
She helps out from time to time, but she has her own career. Yeah. So, but she does help out from time to time.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And you probably have employees that have been around or been with the store for a while.
Yeah, Tony is 8 years.
Great.
I think closing in on 9, and I've had a few guys. Nate's been 6 years, and Barrett's around 5 years or so. So
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
We're trying to. I would really want it to be an environment that is positive for them.
Yeah, that sounds great. And maybe we should look at some of the Gretsch kits that you have today. I was wondering if we have any pictures.
Oh, cream oyster, yeah.
What do you think? So this is on display right now at your shop. The cream oyster kit.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, gold sparkle.
Is this your favorite finish? Gold sparkle.
Gold sparkle?
Yeah.
I love it. I think I like the turquoise sparkle. Myself, but I've always wanted a gold sparkle. Yeah, see, I love that.
This is your favorite. Would you say this is your #1 go-to finish?
Oh, you're putting a lot of pressure on me here. I'd say for Gretsch, I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know Simply Red drummer Roman Roth just got a gold sparkle kit he was just posting and bragging about on social media.
Gold sparkle is timeless.
Yeah, it's got a classic vibe.
It's timeless.
That's for sure. So
satin wallet. This is an exclusive. This is a Brooklyn series kit that we do a whole shell bank in that finish so we stock all the sizes so you can just put a kit together.
Yeah, I love the matte wood finishes. They're just so smooth. Mm-hmm. It's like
the matte is nice. The gloss though that's one thing too that Gretsch doesn't really push it that hard. nobody does lacquering better than Gretsch. When it comes to lacquer finishes, and look, there's other companies that do a great job at lacquering drum shells, but just the fact that they're air dried for 6 weeks, and it just the deep luster on a lacquer finish kit. You can tell why it costs more money and why it takes longer. It's gorgeous.
It's a very time-intensive process, and it just takes so long. And it's really, a process that Gretsch has improved on, from the 70s and upward. Because, before the 1970s, it was primarily nitron wrap finishes.
Right.
And starting in the 70s, we started really focusing on the gloss, the high gloss, and then just the process is so intricate. And to hear Paul Cooper talk about how long it takes for one drum to go through the system, it's incredible to think about the handcrafted capability it takes to make that happen, and how beautiful, how the glassy gloss finish is just remarkable to look at.
Paul had said that I remember when I first visited the factory. He just said, we're a wood shop. And I've been to several drum factories and seen how a lot of companies do it. And they're all a little bit different. They all have a slightly different approach. And with Gretsch, just the amount of time they spent treating the shells really stuck out to me. It was, wow. He's right. They are a wood shop. Like the amount of sanding that goes on, after first coat or the lacquer.
Wet sanding,
just a lot, just crazy amount of work that goes into it. And that's why they look so great.
And a lot of the machinery is machinery that's left over from the Brooklyn era.
Oh, the snare bed. The little device that they make to cut the snare beds. It was put together by somebody that was about as good as I am putting that stuff together. But hey, it worked, and they still use it. It was awesome.
That's right.
I love seeing that.
Yeah, and the old drill press there is also from the Brooklyn era, and the ghost is in the machine. And it's got the spirit and the vibe of the Gretsch heritage inside those machines, and they're still making the Gretsch drums to this day, and it's just remarkable.
It's the Tony Williams voodoo.
It's the Tony Williams voodoo, that's right. So for people interested in visiting your store, where can they go online and buy Gretsch products?
So website's drumcenternh.com. So drumcenter, NH like New Hampshire.com, easy enough. And, if you really want to plug into what we do, the best way is YouTube. Look us up on YouTube and subscribe, because we're always putting these new videos up. And it's almost become, people told me it's become television for them. They love to watch our videos.
They're probably drummers, right?
Some,
some, a few of them.
I think some like the entertainment value of it.
Yeah, great. Well, Shane, it's been such a pleasure having you here, coming to visit this show, and what an honor. Especially, you guys really do such a great job representing the brand and representing the history as well in your store with the timeline and the great service you give to all the customers. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all that you do. It's incredible work. And I'm going to ask you, we're going to end this segment, but I'm going to ask you to stick around, because we're going to go to a factory video where we'll be looking at some drums that'll be sent to your store. So people interested in taking a closer look at these drums that you're going to see in an upcoming video, then stick around and check out Shane's homepage for sure. So Shane Kinney, what an honor it has been to have you here, and great talking to you.
It's a privilege. Thank you.
I look forward to talking more in the future and getting to know you better. And
definitely.
Thanks for joining us on the show today. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye, my friend. So that was Shane Kinney. And what a great representative of the brand and of the family history, and just an incredible dealer for Gretsch drums for sure. And we applaud his efforts. It's now time to move to the next segment of our show. And in this segment, we will be visiting the Gretsch Drums factory in Ridgeland, South Carolina. Now, they are very busy at the moment with the holiday season just around the corner. So they've sent me a pre-recorded video, which I'm happy to share with you here. Enjoy.
Hi, everybody. My name's Paul Cooper. I run the Gretsch factory here in Ridgeland, South Carolina. Today we're going to show you some of the drums we're working on and what's ready to ship. Since Shane is our guest, and by the way, Shane, thanks for all the support you've given us over all these years. We love you, dude, and got to get up there and see you one day. But anyways, this is a rack of Nitron. It's in process. It's all going to Shane's store up Drum Center, Portsmouth. Now we're going to move on into the assembly area. And lo and behold, we've got some more Brooklyn Nitron that's also going to Shane. So it's your day here at the Gretsch factory. Now this is an interesting little drum. This was Cindy Blackman's first Gretsch floor tom I'm working on for. Not part of our normal production, obviously. Over here we've got a River Cypress kit. It's going to be going to New Zealand. And we've got a beautiful Cadillac green gloss kit that's going to Forks Drum Closet in Nashville. Cream Oyster kit that's going, of course, to Shane, Drum Center, Portsmouth. A couple Cream Oyster bebop kits. Not quite sure where they're going. Where are they going, Josh?
Those are going to our distributor in Europe, he's to 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗘𝗧𝗦.
Yeah, they're going to Europe. Here we've got a piano black 18 by 22 going to Forks Drum Closet. Got a little piano black bebop bass drum going to an artist. This guy, Sky Blue Pearl, USA Custom, going to 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗘𝗘 in Australia. And this big guy reminds me of my old 47 right here. This is going to Moondog Drum House. Big 26-inch bass drum. Over here, all these metal drums. We've got solid aluminum, we've got bronze, we've got black copper. All these drums are in stock and ready to ship today out of the Gretsch factory. So once again, thanks for taking the time to watch this. And Shane, we certainly appreciate your support. Come see us sometime. Thanks a lot. See you later.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The amazing Paul Cooper, production boss at the Ridgeland, South Carolina plant for Gretsch Drums. And great to see all those amazing drums headed out to our customers. And a special greetings, we'd like to give a special greetings to our distributors around the world, to 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗚 in Australia, 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗘 in Japan, and 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗘 in Germany, who is our distributor for Europe, as talked about earlier. We'd like to say thank you for your hard work as well, and acknowledge you all. And I hope you enjoyed seeing some of those drums that we're shipping out. That was a lot of fun, and Josh did a great job filming, and Paul is just, as always, a wonderful presenter of the Gretsch brand. So let's move on to the next segment, which a lot of people are very excited about, the quiz segment. And I would first like to start off by announcing the winners from last week, their names. And if I announce your name, then you won a prize here. Let's see if we have a picture of the prize. Yeah, this t-shirt here. Wonderful. And the last show, the winners are Jeffrey Terry and 𝗟𝗩𝗘𝗔𝗦 and John Marks. Those are the three winners. So if you are one of these individuals, please send an email to us to let us know your size, and let us know, let's see, yeah, there it is, social media at dwdrums.com. Let us know your size and your shipping address, and we'll get this shirt sent out to you. So let's move on to this week's quiz question, which should be very easy if you were listening carefully to the first segment where we were covering Gretsch history from 1916 to 1929. We will be awarding that same prize to the first three people who respond correctly. And the quiz question is, what is the name of the company that Walter Gretsch founded in 1924 with a fellow Gretsch employee? And I will repeat the question. What is the name of the company that Walter Gretsch founded in 1924 with a fellow Gretsch employee? And the first three individuals who answer in either YouTube or Facebook will receive a t-shirt. Okay, so I think we're going to slowly start winding things down here. Be sure to check out our other flagship live stream called Generations, which brings together two amazing drummers, one veteran who's been playing Gretsch for years and one relatively newbie to the family. Last week was a lot of fun with Seth Rausch and J.J. Johnson, who dropped a bombshell on us regarding his career. Very exciting. And both these drummers were talking about their careers and their drums, and it was just a lot of fun. So be sure to tune in to that next Wednesday, December 2nd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And finally, of course, please join us next month for episode 4 of Gretsch Heritage, entitled Gretsch in the Swinging 30s, which will be aired live on Wednesday, December 23rd at 10 a.m. West Coast time, 1 p.m. East Coast time, and we will explore the amazing lives of some truly incredible human beings from the 1930s, people like Billy Gladstone and Chick Webb. So our special guest for this holiday episode will be none other than the Swedish drumming sensation, Mr. Morgan Ågren, who many of you know from his work with Frank Zappa, Mats Åberg, and Devin Townsend. It's going to be quite the holiday celebration, so please do join us. And that's about all that we have for you folks today. Be sure to shoot me a DM over Instagram at Lucas van Gretsch so we can connect, engage, and discuss. A special thanks to Scott Donnell, Andrew Shreve, Jules Thomas, and all the folks at DW for being such great partners for the Gretsch family. And thanks, of course, to my Aunt Dinah, Uncle Fred, and the crew at the Pooler office. Also, the amazing Gretsch Drums production crew in Ridgeland, South Carolina. Also, a special thanks to my wife, Papacha, and my daughters, Sylvia and Ramona. And lastly, special thanks to Opa, Richie, and Maggie, my Aunt Katie, and my beautiful Gretsch cousins. This one, too, is for Gigi. Good night, everyone.